What's up, guys? Ivan here with getivan.com, and in this video we're going to be comparing a variety of AI article writing utilities, and I'm probably going to make a commitment to one of these tools pretty soon here. The main one I'm looking at right now is Article Forge. Now, as you can see from the timestamps, in my account, I used this tool for a little while a couple years ago. And so at the time, it was Article Forge 2.0, and now it's Article Forge 3.0. And so I decided to sign up for a trial and give it a try and see if there have been any improvements. And so in this video, I'm going to spend a fair amount of time comparing past Article Forge outputs to current Article Forge outputs using similar terms that I used in the past, so we can actually compare how much better or worse the 3.0 version of the software does to the old version. We're also going to be looking a little bit at Menterprise, which is another tool, and I'll talk about a service called Writinger, and we can take a look at some examples of the quality that this service has the ability to put out. And then I guess we can do a little bit of comparison to WordHero, which is a an AI article writing tool that I found puts out better qualities than some of the other AI article writing tools that I've done videos on and tested in the past. So let's start with, pardon me, let's start with Article Forge. So there's a period here in my use of the tool where for some reason I was creating content on Greek mythology, and I don't remember exactly what I was doing for that. I think there was a keyword that had something to do with Greek mythology in some project, and so I was creating a bunch of content for that. And this was one of the reasons that I actually did not continue my subscription. Was there was something I was doing for Who is Hercules, and one of the variations that it created at that time was describing how Hercules was some sort of like it was talking about how he was this really strong guy who played baseball, you know. And I think this one that I saved created a more accurate output. Excuse me, but it was still there were still some things where it's this tool even back then when I take a look at some of the old uh, outputs it could produce some legitimate content, but the inconsistency was one of the issues, and having to go in and edit things and question, is the writing correct here? If I have to go and do a bunch of research on content, then it kind of defeats the purpose. And that's one of the problems in general, not just with Article Forge in the past, but just AI article writing in general. I had some content not too long ago. I think it was actually with WordHero that where I was doing content on tuxedos, and one variation of an output said, I think I posed the question, can you wear a tuxedo to a funeral? And one variation said, yes, it's totally appropriate to wear a tuxedo to a funeral. Another variation said, no, it's completely inappropriate to wear a tuxedo to a funeral. So, kind of hard to tell there, right? And when you're trying to get it to write things automatically, you don't really necessarily want to have to go and do a bunch of research. So I don't think we've quite entered to the phase of AI article generation where we can just trust what it's putting out. We still have to kind of edit it a little bit and read through it a bit. But the less that you have to do that, the better the tool is. So let's take a look at some of these outputs that Article Forge just created. So this was the old content from the past. So bear with me on these readings, but I can assure you that as I read through this, you'll be able to see um, the variations between the old version of Article Forge and the new one. So this old article says, "Who is Hercules? The answer is simply this: it's a question that begs to be answered. Who was Hercules? Who is Hercules? Are these things that he had to overcome? Yes, they are, and here is what I mean. In the Greek myth, Hercules was a king of the giant race. So you see where it's kind of just it's kind of jerking your chain a little bit. It's not really saying anything of substance. Now, when you think of a giant who ruled over a place, you must think of Hercules. For instance, you may think of Goliath or King David or any other people of the past. These giants were the kings and they ruled over great nations and civilizations. Their job was to keep their subjects in line and in order. So, who is Hercules then? That is not an easy question to answer. Okay. Anyways, so you kind of see like, and this is not uncommon for AI article generating utilities, but this was 2.0, so this was 2 years ago. Now, in the last 2 years, through the OpenAI GPT-3, whatever the thing is called, through the new AI article writing, algorithms or whatever they are, where they've collected a bunch of data and created these, models for these programs to be able to write content. It's the last 2 years we've seen an explosion in AI article writing tools, but it's sometimes still similar to this level of quality. And yet at the same time, you can also get some pretty good outputs. So it is a little bit of a numbers game. It depends on the tool you are using and whether or not you're actually being given access to higher quality readability from whatever the utility is. So this is the kind of thing that we saw 2 years ago before this movement for AI article writing exploded. And let's see what this one is. This one is who is Hercules, or wait a second. Who is Hercules? Now this is 3.0 where I've posed the same question. So this is today under the trial I generated this content. So this one says, the Greek mythology tells us that Hercules was the son of Zeus and his wife Hera, who was born with the powers of a deity, such as the ability to lift his father high in the air. Zeus then gave him the winged horse Pegasus as a gift. In return for this gift, Hercules promised to fight Hades, the brother of Zeus, and the lord of the underworld. He was initially born with the name Alcaeus. Later, he was given the name Heracles, which is related to the struggles that he had with the goddess Hera. So this is funny because uh, what's happening here is the first 2 or 3 sentences, they're telling the Disney movie story because the Disney movie is not the same as the myth. And then the last 2 sentences, it actually is more akin to the actual myth. And I had to actually look this up earlier to see, because how would how can you edit any given AI content unless you're really familiar with the subject? But if you're generating AI content, you're probably not familiar with the subject. That's why you're generating AI content, right? So if you continue to read here, you see that it's mostly describing the Disney movie. So it intermingles a little bit of the actual um, mythology, but it's mostly the Disney movie. Now, what's interesting about Article Forge is I read a page which said that one of the things that makes this different now in the 3.0 version is that it actually goes and it live references data online. So it's not like a lot of these other utilities that just use, like, I guess, a bulk of scraped data to then uh, create models of meaning, or however they describe it. With Article Forge, they actually go and reference live content. So it is technically one step further than I think what a lot of these tools out here are supposed to do. Now let's continue though, and let's look at some other styles. So I have two other, let's see, or three. Excuse me. I'm trying to remember what this one was. I have three variations here. Let me think. Um, Let me do a check real quick. Okay, so right here, so I did one that in the past, you can see the timestamp, who is Hercules? And then up here, I just said, okay, Hercules, but then look here, the sub keyword is who is. So here, the full keyword is who is Hercules for the actual query. And then this one is just saying, hey, let's do an article on Hercules with the sub term as who is. And you can see with a number of other terms, I would do it that way because what this tells the program to do is do an article just on this topic, but then to sort of also uh, do a who is on the main topic. Like, I know I'm not explaining this in the most articulate way, but it's a different way of structuring the content creation, right? So that one's 397 and this one was, let's see, am I not looking at the right one? 966. I must have gotten them mixed up here. Yeah, okay. So let's see. Who's Hercules? Yeah, so I got this mixed up. So this should be here. Yeah. Okay, so this is the old one. So Hercules, who is, this is what it says. There's no questioning that Hercules is one of the most legendary heroes in all of Greek mythology. However, why is he such a popular and iconic figure? Well, it comes down to two things: his strength and his seemingly indestructible skin. He's long been the king of deities and warriors and has been featured in numerous mythological stories throughout the ages and is actually one of the most powerful and dangerous of all. So that's actually a whole lot better than the previous query that we looked at, where it was just kind of like beating around the bush, right? Let's continue reading though and see if the quality holds up. Perhaps one of the most famous myths surrounding Hercules is his abduction by the Nereids. The Nereids are a race of fish women that inhabit the deep waters of the seas in Greece. And I looked that up, by the way, and it's essentially accurate. Hercules was captured by them, where he was kept as a prize of war. It was not long after that he managed to escape. Da, 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 great river, raging torrent. Despite the fact traveling alone. Okay, river was known as Phallus, one of the most obvious metaphors for strength in mythology. Okay, Greek mythology, Hercules finds himself in a battle with three horsemen of the apocalypse. Don't know if that's true. Their goal is to kill him. If he didn't defeat these three horses of the apocalypse, they would destroy the world as we know it. In the end, however, he was able to defeat them. Although in his journey he was forced to cross the river Styx, it was said that his river was a gate. This river was a gateway between yada da 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 da. So I don't think that's true. That last statement about where he was tricked by his enemies into crossing the river, thus destroying his own life. I don't think that was true. I could be mistaken, but this version of the article is a lot more accurate than um, the others. The other one that we were looking at before, and I think this is a good example because Greek mythology has been around for thousands of years. So you'd think that there's data out there they can pull from to write the article, you know. But this is apparently the article that I saved. And when you do this kind of thing, just like with other article generators, like you can be going through variations in order to find one that's usable. So that's obviously an issue. And there are concerns in terms of what you're doing through time. Let's move on though and look at the two most recent permutations. So this is one where I just said Hercules. Let's see here. That was 966. Now I just want to make sure. Yeah, 96 is okay. And then this one, let's see here. This one I think is maybe just Hercules by itself, and then this one is Hercules who is. So let me just check real quick. Yeah, that's right. So in this one is just Hercules by itself without posing the full question, who is Hercules? Okay. So this one says Hercules was a Greek hero. He had many heroic feats under his belt. And let's see, one of them involved defeating the lion that had attacked the city of Nemea, and he used the lion's skin as a cloak. I think that's correct. Another feat was defeating a monster with many serpent heads called Lerna. In order to defeat this beast, Hercules had used arrows dipped in poisoned blood. I'm not sure if that's accurate. Let's see. His first adventure was to steal golden apples from King Eurystheus, which were the gift of Hera to Zeus. However, this mission was complicated by his encounter with Cerberus, a vicious three-headed dog that guarded the gates of the underworld. This took him 12 years, and many times he nearly died. Afterward, he was deified, and his cult spread throughout Greece, Asia Minor, and Rome. So I'm not sure which parts, if all those things are true, but it is true that he had 12 tasks to accomplish by this king, and one of them was to basically retrieve this three-headed dog. And so part of it is accurate. Some of this I'm not sure if it's accurate. This once powerful deity, Hercules, was renowned for his strength and executive efficiency. His 12 labors, dubbed as the 12 labors, made him far superior to lesser heroes. Although he was the son of Zeus, the Greeks and Romans did not share the same idea about Hercules becoming an Olympian. As a result, different writers have depicted Hercules differently. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, because he wasn't a deity according to the traditional myth. Okay, so that one is actually pretty. I mean, and that what's interesting about this one is this one contains a lot more specific details on some of the things involved in mythology. So it's getting a lot. Being specific from an AI article standpoint is dangerous because, you know, if the detail is inaccurate, like in what the article generates is inaccurate regarding the detail, then it's totally butchered. So it kind of makes sense that in past permutations of the software, they kind of use more fluffy language. Let's move on though. This one is Hercules with the sub keyword who is. So that one was just generic information about Hercules, and this one is actually saying who is Hercules, but in the way that the tool is designed really kind of to use it. The myths about Hercules show the world as it is, with monsters to conquer, impossible tasks, um, reliability because it was relatability. Okay. Impossible tasks and tragic outcomes. Though the stories began in ancient Greece, they have been retold and adopted to fit our modern world. Hercules, the hero, has become as beloved as ever. This is because of his relatability. Read on to discover some of the most iconic myths. And remember, if you're a fan of mythology, you'll love the adventures of the Greek hero. That's actually a pretty good introduction to who is Hercules. One of Hercules' greatest adventures was rescuing the princess of Troy from the sea monster. Not sure if that's true. Other stories about the hero include helping Zeus defeat the giants and taking control of Olympus. Not sure if that's true. In the Disney movie, it was the Titans. Of course, I don't think that's true at all. Of course, there might be something to that. Other one, Hercules is considered a true hero because he overcame such horrific events. Even though the Greeks thought him to be the most powerful of all the deities, he had to endure terrible pain to achieve the ultimate goal, to return the land of the gods. I don't think he ever did, and so that's not accurate. I read this earlier when I was checking some of these facts that his deity, the part of him that was a deity in the story, ascended to to be with the other deities, and the part of him that was mortal descended. So it's very, very different than what they're saying here. This is more like the Disney movie, so it kind of sounds like this chunk is the Disney movie. The first time Hercules met Zeus, he was terrified. He tried to escape, but instead Zeus picked him up. He felt like an insect in Zeus's hands, so he almost quit training. But his determination kept him going. He continued to practice swordplay and archery and even made a statue of him. Although he was frightened of Zeus, he persisted until he reached his goal. So that's definitely the Disney movie. So I would have to say that the best variation we've seen so far, it has been this one here without the sub term, most likely. And this one over here was not too bad, and from the older algorithm or whatever. But some of these details were questionable. So I do think that the new variations are producing. Pardon me, the new soft yeah the new variations seem to be better at they're actually pulling data. The problem is, like, this is a topic that, with the Disney movie probably ranking for some of that stuff, that's what's causing the problem. So, excuse me. I guess you just have to be aware of that, and like, there's not. I don't think there's any really any way to avoid that, unfortunately. Now, one thing I noticed was that the processing time, and it could be because I'm on the trial right now for this tool, the processing time was way longer than some of the other utilities I'm used to using. I don't remember it taking. This was only 250 words, but it could be that because of the scraping element, that's one of the reasons why it takes a long time. This is only 250 words, so that's really not that much. Um, Pardon me. So maybe once I sign up, it will be a better quality. So I'm seriously thinking about signing back up to this tool because um, it does something that some of the other tools don't do. With the lookup and the writing. So and the writing is unlimited on the final plan if you just log in and manually create the writing requests. And then I think support told me that the API has a monthly limit of 250,000 words, which is pretty good. I guess if you have 1,000 words per article, then you can do 250 articles with that. And then they said it was 25 cents per 1,000 words after that. So I think that's pretty good comparatively. Like, unfortunately, I don't have a way to do. Let me open up some of my servers here. I don't have a way to connect to the API, like to auto deploy into Tumblr, for example. Right now, they have an auto post to WordPress feature, but I don't use WordPress anymore. So if you guys use WordPress, then that might make things quite a bit easier. But you have a limit unless you pay for the API credits. So it could be worthwhile now, though. But of course, you have the risk of you really have to know what you're doing with your keywords. Otherwise, this can happen where there's a blending of details on topics. But one thing I'd really like to test, so I'm going to do a follow-up video on this, is the premium plugin for the email, or let's see here, not the email scraper, is it the article? No, it's not the article. Well, it might be the article scraper. Yeah, let me look at let me update the article scraper. And in the article scraper, there's a section for Article Forge. So there might be an opportunity to use Scrapebox in conjunction with Article Forge. Yeah. So using Scrapebox, we could actually bulk process content. So that would be awesome. Let's see, sentence variation, paragraph variation, title. And I think that, yeah, Scriptbox has a thing for, yep, there's WordAI. So it would be nice to be able to use Spin Rewriter because that's what I have, but I don't recall if there's a way to get that in here. And let's see. Okay, yeah, I'll have to take a closer look at that. But this would be great because then in bulk, you could create like a bunch of content and then save the articles into some file and then deploy them into wherever. So I'm gonna do probably gonna do a follow-up video to test this because I think that could make it a lot easier in bulk. And let me see what would it cost? I guess it would cost $250 to do 1,000 articles, right? So if we did 25 cents times 1,000, yeah, $250. Now that's relevant because if you were to use a article writing service, I talked to this service. I did a test on the basic plan, so I'll show you guys some of the content that I pulled from there. And they told me in a private message that you could do, if you order 1,000 articles, you could get a 20% discount, and they actually would put them into the site for you. So they have a team somewhere overseas, I guess, with this service to actually deploy the content wherever you want it deployed. And I think they support WordPress, excuse me. But they told me that for an extra couple $100 or something, that they would actually do it manually up into Tumblr, and so that would be pretty neat. And maybe they could structure them for HTML pages. Just who knows? Like, but the cool thing is this is managed. So if you paid $1,000, you could get like 1,000 articles, and like have someone manage the deployment part of it. And so I tested this service, and let me grab the content example real quick and show you guys the quality. Okay, so here's an example. I had them do an article on bookkeeping services in the USA and a few other articles on different types of niches, And so this one said, we'll just read through some of this so you can see the quality here. Bookkeeping services in the USA to keep your business running smoothly. Keeping accurate financial records is one of the most important aspects of owning and operating your own business. Without proper bookkeeping, you have no way of knowing how profitable your business is or where you stand financially at any given time. Bookkeeping services can help you simplify the accounting process so that you can focus on other aspects of running your business. Keeping track of all your expenses and revenue requires attention to detail, where bookkeeping services come in handy. They can take much of the stress off your shoulders to focus on growing your business or attracting new customers. While not all businesses require bookkeeping services, anyone with a complex financial operation would benefit from hiring an external bookkeeper. And introduction to bookkeeping services, main types of bookkeeping services, cloud-based bookkeeping services, virtual bookkeeping services, traditional bookkeeping services. So I didn't give them a content outline. They just did that themselves. And so basically, this is a $1 article. Excuse me. And how many words? 550 words. I want to say that's actually less than what they said it was going to be. It could be about the same. Oh yeah, okay. So 400 to 600. So that's about where it's supposed to be, about 500. So pardon me. So for $1, I think that's pretty good. So they're probably using AI article writing tools, or who knows. I asked them, they said that they write them all manually. It took a few days to get the content. It may have been taking longer than that, but which is fine. Even though it said 24 hours here, it took a little longer than that. But it's all managed. So if you wanted to pay $1,000 for 1,000 articles, you get them, $1 a piece. That's a lot better than a lot of things, and that's a surprisingly great quality there. So that's the service Writinger, and there's probably a few other services like that. Something to consider, but with that standard, you're looking at $1 per article versus you could get something like this, which is like 25 cents for 1,000 words. Let me check on that. Yeah, so I checked my email, and my email with the support rep said confirmed it's 25 cents for 1,000 words. So for a comparable quantity, obviously it's about 12 cents, 13 cents. So 13 cents for 500 word article opposed to $1. It's like almost 10 times cheaper, right? So yeah, you could have it fully managed and someone do all this business right, but then you could also get it 10 times cheaper from Article Forge and do a little bit more handling, or just hire some cheap VA to just handle the Article Forge content. So pardon me, I think there's something, I still think this is a better option comparatively. And here's the page, by the way, that describes the 3.0 version for Article Forge that the support rep gave me. And she replied within a day, so that's not too bad. And this one basically describes what they do, what they've improved. So, and there's some examples on this page. I'm trying to see, there's a section that describes how they pull content. Let's see. Built our own research retrieval models and algorithms to provide Article Forge with relevant factual information as reference material while it is writing. So that could be why it takes a little long. It seems to take a little longer. So you've got $1. Let me pull out my notepad here. So you've got $1 per 500 words with Writinger. Then you've got 13, let's say 13 cents per 500 words. Now this is counting the API, right? So if you generated this stuff through Scrapebox, for example, then at scale it's going to cost you money. Like they give you 250,000 words as part of your subscription, but then actually the manual use of the tool is unlimited. So it's technically, incorporated into your subscription, right? And that's a little more because you have to pay a obviously you have to pay the subscription, but this one is 500 words with, excuse me, what is it? Article Forge. And we have, I guess, one or two more to take into consideration. And this one is, now this one's more expensive now. Let me open up another browser just to head over there. So I am very fortunate to be into the legacy plan. So if I subscribe to the annual, it's only going to cost me like, it's going to cost me less on the yearly fee, like a few $100 or something. This one costs like $600, so 57 by 12, right? So 7 times 12. Yeah, geez, it's expensive. So that one is 700 a year. That's a, well, why is that so expensive? $57 a month billed annually. Did I must have put something. No, I put that incorrectly. Huh. Yeah, that's expensive. But unlimited words here. Now, I would be curious to know if you could just subscribe to the basic and then just pull from the API for the same rate. That would be good to know, because then if you're just going to use it in that manner anyways, then you don't need to do this, because if you're just going to use the API, then it could just be 13 times 12, so 13 times 12, 156 year, just the I. So I'm assuming that right there, right? So I'll have to send a message to see if that's how it works, because that wouldn't be too bad to just subscribe to this level and then just use the API, because you're gonna have to pay $250 per chunk anyways for the API credits. So, unless you're gonna get up into this over here with a macro and just you create this queue, it takes like 10 or 15 minutes or something like that per article, and they don't process simultaneously multiple threads. It's one at a time. So I guess in the course of a day, you could queue up, several articles, and that's like several articles per hour. So in several hours, you could get like 50 articles per day. So, I mean, that's not too bad. It's just that somebody has to go in there and click through them. So, I guess you got to decide if you want to pay several $100 a year and queue up articles and manually handle them, or if you actually just want to bulk create them using the API, so that you can then just upload them at scale. Like you're saying, in either in however you spin it, right? You're saving a lot of money. Like, excuse me, with this one right here, even though $700 a year is pretty expensive, like, that's over here with this service, that's like 70 articles a month, right? So if you're doing more content creation, like for lead generation assets, that's what I'm concerned with right now, then you could still be saving a ton of money. Like if you're creating a bunch of, lead gen pages with this plan. So something to consider, and I'm gonna have to follow up with them and ask them about the plans and how it works with the API, and see if the price is consistent even at the cheaper package. So, and then let's take a look at WordHero. So this one's WordHero.co. So WordHero. Oh, and while we're at it, let's do a test with this one here with WordHero, just to see. So it should be blog intros, or let's try. We're gonna do blog paragraphs. Let's try blog paragraphs. So let's try, who is Hercules? Let's see how this this performs. Let's put this here. I may not be able to do this without a title. So who is Hercules? And let's see, keywords to be included, separated by commas. Let's just write, right? Should be working. Hercules, let's try this. It needed a keyword. So let's see how this performs. And while we're waiting on that, let's take a look at, oh, it's already finished. Let's put this over here. Oh. Hercules is one of the most popular and well-known heroes in Greek mythology. He was the son of Zeus, king of the deities, and Alcmene, a mortal woman. Hey, that's correct. As a baby, Hercules was nursed by nymphs on Mount Silene. When he was a young man, he became famous as a hero and performed many amazing feats. One of Hercules' most famous adventures was his 12 labors. For these labors, he was given permission by King Eurystheus to perform any task that he desired. I don't think that's true, but this right here sounds like it could be true. So that's pretty good. Now, the difference, of course, is that we've created like this paragraph with this utility, right? And previously, in some of the content that I've created with this, I haven't used this nearly as much as I plan to. I was using the blog intros. So let's try the intro to ask the same question. And try this. Who is Hercules? And let's go to WordHero.co and take a look at WordHero.co, the prices. Now this one I got from AppSumo deal at the time, but I'm sure it's much more expensive now. Let's see, limited time promotion, $50 a month or $348 per year. Yeah, that's way too expensive. People are trying to get rich quick with these AI article writing tools. Let's take a look at this content. Hercules is a legendary hero who is said to have performed amazing feats such as slaying lions and bears single-handedly. That's not quite, I think, the background. He's also known for his strength, stamina, and fighting skills. Some of his other notable accomplishments include being the son of Zeus and the goddess Hera, and being the founder of the city Hercules in ancient Greece. Well, that's not true. He wasn't the son of Hera. That's the Disney movie thing. The legend of Hercules is one of the most well-known and beloved stories in history. The story of Hercules is about a powerful man who is able to perform incredible feats of strength and agility. Hercules is known for defeating many monsters and villains and is often considered to be one of the greatest heroes in history. And that's a good article. Good intro. Hercules is one of the most famous and celebrated heroes in all of history. Stories of Hercules are well known to almost everyone, and his deeds are legendary. He was a mighty man, capable of incredible feats. He was brave, strong, and skilled in many different areas. He was also known for his compassion and kindness. Hercules was a true hero and an excellent role model for people of all ages. Well, I don't know about role model. Oftentimes, the Greek stint on characters was tragedy and sort of horror. So I don't know if that's something I would put in there. But a lot of this other content's pretty good. But so as you can see, like with this tool, somebody has to kit the content together. So it's bringing up some good outputs, but it has to be babysat, right? And so compared to something like this that just says, okay, they're going to write 250 words that are cohesive. I had something else entirely. And I think it goes up to, let's see, so the Scrapebox showed it at 750. Now, yeah, the utilities now goes up to 1500. So Scrapebox just hasn't been updated, most likely. I think that's much more impressive. And I would be curious to test the 1500 at some point. So we'll have to see how that does, because that's very different. And creating an entire article is a whole other level. And then you've got your core keyword, you've got your sub keywords. So like it will either use that to create the voice, I guess you could say, of the article, or if you put a variety of sub keywords, then I guess the idea is to be able to create different paragraphs and headers using those subterms possibly. You can see section headings, titles, and then here there's an add image feature in video. I don't remember using this, if they even had it back then. They have a rewriting feature with WordAi, so I'm really curious to test this out because this has been around for a really long time, like for more than a few years. And I always viewed it as a spinning utility that's like competitive with something like Spin Rewriter. But they're saying that it rewrites like AI is supposed to be able to do. So it's, if you combine the cost, I mean, $1,000 a year or whatever for both utilities is a lot to spend, but it's like $100 a month or something for the two together. And if you're using this stuff a lot for lead gen assets, it could be invaluable. So I'm seriously considering getting both of these um, uh, to couple them together. Uh, let's see, where was the tab I was on? Is it over here? Yeah. And so if that's the case, it supposedly lets you do up to 10 variations of a single piece of content. So if you get a solid piece of content, then you can just have it rewritten by WordAI, and it's supposed to not be spinning exactly. It's supposed to be actual rewriting of the core content and restructuring. Now, Spin Rewriter used to actually spin the sentences and then like rearrange them. So I don't really want that. I don't want it to just be spun. Like it needs to be rewritten, like using the same core information. Uh, I guess that's pretty similar to spinning and restructuring, but I don't want it to be just like unintelligent where it's just trading synonyms because there's only a few synonyms per core word on average. So you get 10 variations of an article with the same core information. Like, how different are they? Like, I don't want it to seem like there's spun content. It needs to be readable and unique. But when you're making like local lead gen mass page sites, right, then it's ideal. Like I have experience. There's a point where maybe you can get away with spun content to some degree, especially in small towns. But in my experience, like it's difficult to actually write unique content. Even big companies like Orkin, for example, they use duplicate content. So it makes more sense from a lead gen standpoint, for example, to use duplicate content. And I actually have assets and have worked on, multiple assets in the past that use duplicate content more effectively. But what I'm trying to do here is find a utility that can do local lead gen assets, but not do duplicate content, to actually do unique content. And so that's the attractive aspect here is that instead of having somebody sit there manually and try to kit it together, like what if Article Force could do that for us for local lead gen assets? And it was just any kind of lead gen asset, really, like product oriented lead gen asset. So, okay, so let's move on here to, we looked at the pricing for WordHero, and this, as an AppSumo deal, I think that's pretty cool. But somebody's got to babysit it and nurse it and kit the stuff together, and that's definitely something I can't recommend as like actually invest a retainer on this. That's not worthwhile. And there's only like a single thread login, so you can't really have teams working on this thing. So that kind of goes out the window. Like maybe if you had a macro set up to run permutations, but the problem is like you don't know like which of those are going to be good. So you still have to run those through somebody who's going to edit those and remove chunks. You know what I'm saying? So we can't consider that into the mix. I wouldn't even put that on the list. That brings us to Menterprise. So there's a long backstory with Menterprise. I was acquainted with the developers through mass page groups on Facebook more than a few years ago, and invited to the platform in the early days, like post beta. And so at the time, I made like a variety of feature suggestions, and ultimately decided not to continue on the platform because as we saw, like in the past, 2 years plus back, like the spinning, there was like the content generation that existed was basically spinning, and it just didn't produce level of quality that made it viable. But the utilities inside of Menterprise are awesome. Like this stuff here, and I even told the owner, I was like, I don't think you understand, like this utility here to be able to handle information is more valuable than what you're doing with the scraping part. Like I'm more interested in the handling of information. Let me handle my own data and use these utilities, but he wasn't interested in that. He wasn't convinced that that was, you know, the main thing to be concerned with. So, they have continued to develop uh, the scraping part of things. And from what I understand, like I've been told that they've been upgraded quite a bit. They've upgraded its capability quite a bit. Now, this is not the full viewable of the back end. To my recollection, this is just I'm in sandbox mode because I'm not subscribed anymore. But you can take a look at videos to see what it looks like, and this is the basics of what you can do. Like, but you can use spin tags to create sort of like place content structures, and that's why this is really awesome. Like, you can structure where things get inserted when you hit the go button, and it actually generates your content from the data that they scrape together and the engine they use to actually write content from collected data. So you can see here, here's a section for spin tax and how to make it readable, the way that spinning ought to be done here, pages to generate, word count, etc., etc. And there's a language utility also. And here's the pricing. So the the one of the more attractive features is the ability to just like use your own HTML templates. Like it doesn't necessarily matter because if you're doing something at scale, like you can just take your template into spreadsheet and just basically paste like a large body of content into a spreadsheet, and then just between the paragraph tags of all these like HTML variations, like you can then just combine content and export it into spreadsheet files. Like, so you can do that as long as you get the content. You can still do that with HTML builds. But what's cool is that they actually allow you to use your own templates now. And so then they can, I assume that you can export into like fully ready to go templates. So it's just like something to save a little bit of extra time. And then they also have interesting like redirect features. Like on some of the super long tail examples that they gave for rankings, like I clicked on some of those and they redirected to affiliate offers. Like the entire domain was like ranking in the metadata, was ranking in the SERP, but then it was just redirecting to a completely different I guess offer. And so that was kind of neat. um you can see unlimited respins, unlimited generations. That's interesting. That could be really useful. um and so on and so forth. But the let's see if we can calculate the actual cost. So here's the standard, here's the dedicated. Standard is not too bad, $30 for 30,000 words, right? So 1,000 word article will be uh 30 of those, right? So 30 articles. So that's basically $1 a piece. So right here, even at the bottom plan, it has the potential to be competitive with having people write the content. So then I guess the question is like, are these real people who are writing are going to do a better job than the base plan, right? And I guess it just depends on whether or not you can do better with like your content structures, or are those people going to follow instructions and actually write things the way you've told them to write them and structure the content the way you've told them to structure it. And if they do deploy it, then that's worthwhile too. But anyways, let's jump up to some of these other plans. So then you go up to 150,000 words for $80. So 150,000. Wait a second. How do I divide this down to $1? Well, it's 150,000 word articles, right? So then I just have to divide 80 by 150. So it should be 50 cents, right? So about 150. Yeah. So it's about 50 cents. So there's a significant cost break there. So that's already much more worthwhile. Let's look at the dedicated package. So this one is 1,000,000 words. That's a huge jump. So you have 150 articles here for $80 a month, and you have a million for 150. So that's 1,000 articles. So over here with Writing Gear, you can get 1,000 articles for $1,000. This package is already a lot better, $150 for 1,000 articles. So let's just go 150 divided by 1,000, and that's 15 cents. So now you're already with it for this price. You're already getting kind of competitive with Article 4, or what is it? Article Forge, yeah. But that's with 1,000-word articles, and we were doing math here for 500-word articles, right? Yeah, so yeah, that wasn't even a fair comparison previously with Writing Gerd, because this one is giving you more content. Just in our little example here. So this one was, let's see, 13 cents for 500 words. So it's 26 cents for this one's already cheaper than the API over at Article Forge. Pardon me. 30 pages at once, yada da 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 da, rank title scraping, image and video scraping, etc., etc. So I guess if you were just going to be doing things from the API standpoint with Article Forge, you would already be looking at a significant cost savings at scale by using something like Menterprise. The question is, does it compare? Like, does the quality of the content compare? I might have to. I don't think there's a trial, so I might have to hop onto this base plan. Let's see, standard modules. Hopefully, there's nothing that limits the quality of the content at these lower plans, because I might have to hop onto these to just kind of see how that compares. Of course, there's a learning curve to getting all this stuff uh, structured, you know. So we'll have to see how that is. Anyways, let's see how the cost breaks are going up here. So this is twice the number of words for an extra $50. Let's see how much cheaper that is. So it would be 2,000 divided by 200, or 200, sorry, 200 divided by 2,000. So that's 10 cents. This one is 300 divided by 4 million, or 4,000. That's about 8 cents. And I guess it's going to go further. 600 divided by 4. That sounds similar. Bragging rights. 600 divided by 8,000, right? Yeah, it's the same. So you don't get any price breaks, I guess, unless you maybe contacted them after that package there. So at this point, it's like 8 cents for every 1,000-word article. So this is, I guess, if you're going to do things at scale without doing like the manual utility, like obviously with Article Forge, if you're manually creating those and queuing them up every day, that's clearly a better deal, because if you can get like 70 articles a day, then let's see, 70 times 365 every year, it's 25,000 articles. And I guess technically that's, well, let's think here. What was the word count on that? I was calculating that at 500, right? So if we divided that by 2 and did it as 1,000-word articles, then we would have to say 12,000 times. Is it times 1,000? Yeah, it's this number of articles times 1,000. So, well, let me think. It's 12,000 at this package. I'm confusing myself. Apologies. This is 2,000 articles, right? So this is 12,000. This is 4,000. This is 8,000. I'm doing that right, I'm assuming. So 8,000 times 1,000. Yeah, 8 million. Yeah, so actually, if you had a macro or whatever, keeping your queue full, pardon me, in the manual interface of Article Forge, then you could create a lot more content at scale if that's not a problem, you know, for this if the service doesn't give you any issues with queuing up, 70 articles a day or whatever, right? Um, Now obviously you'd have to like download those, but if you have a VA that's handling that stuff anyways, then it really shouldn't matter a whole lot since to some degree you're going to have to like manually deploy and like make sure that certain things are handled. There's a variety of variables. Like obviously it's probably ideal to when you're dealing with such a huge scale anyways, like you want it to be as automated as possible, which you want to be able to have structures in place for including certain kinds of links, internal links in particular. So being able to do that at scale and have the right spreadsheet that pumps in the right links in the right places and all those structures, that's more complicated to set up those structures using a tool like this. So there's a little bit of risk there. Like obviously the potential for scale is huge, especially with HTML, because if you can get the structure right, export to HTML so that it's ready to be uploaded, then you could deploy an entire website, in a day or something like that, right? So the potential for Menterprise is huge, but what I don't know is how is the quality significantly is the quality of the content significantly improved from what it used to be? I don't know. So that is the question. Might have to sign up and give this a test. But uh and at the same time, the monthly subscription, and of course this is like crazy expensive, like in terms of the retainer, right? So that's also something like this over here is on demand. So it I would suspect that it's similar. I have to test the content quality. So I'm trying to decide, do I want to do that now? I don't think I want to do that now. But at some point in another video, I probably will do that. But it does show that Menterprise is a competitor. Like it does have the potential for viability with the way that it's structured and the improvement on content handling features and supposedly on the content quality. So we'll have to circle back to Menterprise. Um, and I guess I would conclude this video by saying that because I've covered other AI article writing tools in other videos and I've tested a number of them over the years, and it really kind of seems to me like surprisingly Article Forge has come back into the picture as being a viable solution for content at scale. Um, Excuse me. And I need to do a test on AI text rewriter. So do I want to do that now? No, I don't think I want to do that now. I think I'll follow up this video with a dedicated test on Article Forge and a dedicated test on Menterprise, to just test the content quality and just kind of see like how easy is it to deploy this thing and that thing, and what really makes sense in terms of workflow, because somebody is probably going to have to put their hands on things, in the end. Like I don't know that you can I'm not sure how viable it is to upload an entire site. Like depending on the platform, like that might be okay for HTML. Obviously, for Tumblr, which is a really ideal content management system right now, it's going to be better to do something like Article Forge, where I can like manually handle each piece of content, put it up in there, make sure that it's structured, and do a little bit of that each day. That's probably for the average person out there. For a lot of you guys, it's probably going to be easier to just do something like this. To be frank, like there's a higher learning curve with Menterprise, but the potential for scale is pretty high. And even at like $150 a month, I think a lot of guys could do that and put out, two sites with like 500 articles a piece or something like that. For lead gen, like you could put out two lead gen sites per month for example, and with a tool like that at $150 a month and in HTML, and it'd be super cheap to do that, hosting it in object storage with Cloudflare. So we'll have to circle back to that, but I'll put a link to both of these utilities in my description. And um, if you guys have any experience, let me know. I'll do a follow-up video testing each of these tools individually, and we'll just have to see. I was really thinking that I was going to use Writinger for a second there, but then I just thought, $1,000 for 1,000 articles is just it's too expensive. Like I just don't want to do that. So we'll just have to see if we can figure this out. And same thing with WordHero. I think that cost me $150 to get that utility. Um, but a lot of these tools they don't stack up. So I'll follow up this video, and I appreciate you guys watching. I know this was a long video, but I think you can see that the potential here is huge to be able to create higher quality lead gen assets that have higher quality content, and in a really cost effective way. Because even if you rank for long tails, guys, like, excuse me, you can flip websites. Like, you can either do lead gen into affiliate offers or for clients, but you can also just generate traffic to assets using a tool that does more quality content like this, and just flip those sites, just sell like the whole site or the domain or something like that, like. So that's one of the things I've been working on figuring it out. I will have to do a follow up on an interesting uh, site structure method that I've developed for Tumblr at some point. And I'll also have to show an example of a site structure for HTML. Also, that's super cost effective. And also, since you more uh, with not having a content management system has some benefits for some styles. And so if you can get that set up, yeah, pardon me, then you can just generate a whole website in HTML and just load up into your object storage like I've talked about in previous videos and deploy with Cloudflare. And then you got this site that costs, pennies a month to host, but then just sits there and brings in, passive income on affiliate offers. So that's also an attractive method. Now with Tumblr, it's better to use Tumblr if you want to go in and like edit pages and be more active about adding content. But with HTML, then you can just like deploy that stuff and let it sit there and just let it churn for you. So I'll do some follow-up videos, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.